Well, what have I here? This is a large Crassula, and this tree has a very interesting story behind it because it was given to me or gifted to me about 25 years ago when I used to do the Chelsea Flower Show, and one of the judges of the Lily group, his name was Ray Jeffs. I think sadly he may have passed away, I'm not sure, but he was a member of the Lily judging group, but he used to have a small nursery where he grew a lot of cactus and succulents. And most of these cactus and succulents are very popular because you don't have to do much watering to it. So this tree, I will tell you the history. He gave it to me 25 years ago because by that time he was about 75 years old, and he said that when I get old I want to pass it on to someone else. So he passed this tree on to me, and he told me that he was given that tree 45 years previously by another grower. So he was in fact the second person who owned it. I'm the third person who owned it. When it was given to me, it had 3 massive trunks as thick as this trunk. If you come close and look at the base here, this has calloused over, but there was a big trunk here. I broke it off, and another trunk here I broke off. So I broke off a lot of trunks because it was too ungainly and too large to manage. So that is what I did. I just broke it off and I tried to reduce it to just one trunk. But in the last 20 years that I've owned it, more trunks have grown, so you don't really see the proper tree shape. When I go out to India, I'm always fascinated by the Crassula they get there. And the Crassula they get there is the one which grows in South Africa, which has got very small leaves, and it is very wireable. I think that is Crassula afra possibly. And that is extremely good to work with. But these are difficult to work with. They're very brittle, and they're mainly grown as a succulent for people who keep cactus collections. So simply by pruning, I will give it more of a bonsai shape. Let's look at the tree from every side to see what is the nicest face. Because depending on the nicest face, this is not so nice, I can make it look more tree-like. So if I turn it around, I think this is the better face. And these little plants have just grown from suckers, and I can just pull it out. They all have roots, so you get another plant from there. Maybe pull some more out. Look at that. All separate plants. You could get twin trunk tree from that. Then this one, I think, a bit difficult to pull out. But what I can do is probably snap it off or break it off.
Silky so.
Silky soft. It's just like cutting a potato. It's so soft. There you go. And I will probably make several cuttings on this so that it's not top heavy. And each of these plants will make cuttings, and we have another tree from there. Now I've exposed the trunk a lot. Let me see what else I can expose to make it look more tree-like. It's amazing, just by pruning you can get a very nice shape. So, as I always remind people, when you're making bonsai, it's the trunk which is most important. Because in bonsai we are trying to create tree-like images, and trees have trunks. Shrubs do not have trunks. So as soon as you start showing the trunk, it begins to look tree-like. So I will concentrate on this side, which is the front, and keep showing the trunk as much as possible. I probably don't need the tree that tall, otherwise if you keep letting it grow, it will reach the sky. So let's be bold and cut some limb off. This is just like cutting a potato, it's so soft.
Oh my god.
Can you imagine the number of cuttings I'm going to get out of this tree? Be bold, telling myself. I want it that tall. A lot of conflicting trunks there. So this one is conflicting with this one. I've got to take a decision. It's not looking good. So I think the choice between this and that, which one do you think we should take off? Josh?
This one.
Absolutely
So you
right.
can see all this.
Absolutely right. So this is the one we're going to take off. There you
That
go.
is a cutting.
That is a big cutting. Big cutting. Now you can see the trunk more clearly. How long did that take? Hardly any time at all. And this is now looking more tree-like. This is also crossing. So I will follow the progress of this tree. This is going to be the front with that massive trunk, and hopefully it should look more like a tree. And I'm going to pot all these up in just pure sand, and we will get loads of cuttings. For those of you who live in temperate climates, these trees cannot stand temperatures lower than 10 degrees centigrade. Lower than 10 degrees centigrade, they will rot. So you've got to keep them absolutely frost-free, not only frost-free, well above the normal temperatures.
Can I grow that bit?
Yeah,
Or are you going to use that as a big
I'll
one?
use it as a branch, maybe. So you've got a tree which already looks like that. We make a cutting from that. These all got potential to look like a tree. So we're going to have fun just putting these in some sharp sand, and hopefully they will all root. So there is a quick demonstration as to how we make this look more tree-like. So we can return it outside. These stay out in the garden throughout the summer, and by early October I have to put it indoors, and it stays indoors without any watering. We don't have to water these trees. They're perfectly okay without any watering, because being a succulent, it requires very little water. So I've got something that looks like a tree. Pity I can't wire it. As I said, in India there are types that you can wire, but these you can't wire. So I'm going to create a conical shape with a thick trunk, and that is my bonsai Crassula. So this is the large Crassula that I pruned 2 days ago. I took off some very massive branches and I cut it close to the trunk, and hopefully they'll callus over and form these lovely rounded calluses. What I want to show you now is what I do with these branches that I cut. Teaching you how to make cuttings out of Crassula would be like teaching grandmother to suck eggs. It's that simple. If I were to just leave it lying around, it won't die because it's like a succulent or cactus. It will begin to sprout new shoots and leaves from the trunk. You don't have to insert it into soil at all. So there are many, many ways of doing this. So I can just leave it lying around and they will form. In fact, if you even left a leaf lying on the ground, from the edge of the leaf, you will get new roots coming out. I can't find any leaves that have fallen recently, but believe you me, if you just leave a leaf around, you will find that they will start to root. So you can even stick a leaf into the soil and that will root as well. So you don't always have to stick branches or trunks. I've brought here a tray of sharp sand. This is just sharp builder sand that has been allowed to weather in the rain so that the chemicals are all washed out. And I like to get ready-made plants, so I keep all these thick cuttings and just insert it into sand. The reason why I'm using sand is because sand is drier and they won't rot the stems so much. I find that if you put it into compost, there's a tendency to make the stems rot. So sand is a good medium to use. And as I said earlier, you can just do an experiment, leave them lying around, and you will find that roots will come from the edge of the leaf, and roots will also come from there. So you don't even have to insert it in. But if you want to insert it into some sort of rooting medium, then sharp sand is very good. I've also done a little experiment here. What I've got here in this bucket is some water and just some sphagnum moss there so it doesn't dry out too fast. And I'm going to compare the quickness or the speed with which they will root, keeping it in water like this, hoping that it won't rot, and also sticking them in sand. So this is another medium that I'm using. These are the Japanese clay training pots. So this is our standard bonsai potting compost, which has akadama, volcanic grit, and all sorts of things. So we always like to do little experiments like this by using different types of media to see what the results are. So just sticking it in there, like many of my projects, I'm going to follow them through to follow the progress and see what happens. So we're going to try pure sand, our standard bonsai mix, and a bit of water to see how they root and the speed with which they root over a period of time. And I'm also going to follow this through to see how it progresses. Because this is going to be a relatively slow process, when I say slow, I would say within 6 months or a year, I should get new branches growing. So for those of you who are expecting an instant bonsai, I don't think I can do an instant bonsai because I have to wait for new shoots to grow. I just showed you which were the branches to take off. So let me end this video by describing what to expect from this tree. As I said, I hope you are not disappointed that I couldn't make an instant bonsai from it. Because like many of our deciduous bonsai tools, although this is not deciduous, when you do a demonstration, all you do is trim off all the unwanted branches, leave the trunk that you want to develop, and hope for new branches to grow. So hopefully this tree will produce new branches, and I will create the conical shape and have the trunk visible. What happens to all these? These are all going to be rooted, and as always I like to do experiments, so I'm doing experiments with rooting the Crassula in water, rooting them in akadama, and rooting them in pure sharp sand. So let's follow this project through, and over the next few months you will see the results of what I've done. So there you go. This is the large Crassula project. Just started, and I hope you will follow this through with me to show you the progress of this lovely Crassula, which I believe is over 80 years old. There you go.